Finally, this is going to be an interesting video on Pandas. Here we are going to manipulate the data and we will also solve a real-time problem related to a crop. So for manipulating a data, we will be using a group by and cross-tab functions. A group by operation involves some combination of splitting the object, applying a function and combining the results. The result can be used to group large amount of data and compute operations on these groups. So here you can see that this is the syntax of group by, where we have to provide the by axis could be 0 or 1. Then we have as index, sort, group keys, squeeze, observe, drop now equals to true or false. So in this output you can see that we have applied a group by function on this column, which is label. So let's say we have applied a mean operation on this column. Then what has happened? The value for mean for all other columns has been calculated based upon this row. So for jute, the mean for the rainfall is this, the pH value is this, N is this, and P is this, and so on. Same thing has happened with the orange and other rows as well. Group by can be applied on a large scale of columns, but cross-tab is limited to few columns only. Ideally, you should use cross-tab for 2 to 3 columns in order to get the better results. But the definition for cross-tab is it computes a simple cross-tabulation of 2 or more factors. By default, it computes a frequency table of the factors unless an array of values and an aggregation function are passed. So it is similar to the pivot table, and but it is much faster than that because it has an optimized algorithm. So in this example, we have calculated which crop can be grown in what kind of atmosphere or in what kind of temperature. So we have classified the temperature in 3 parts: low, moderate and high. Based upon that, you can see that jute can be grown only in the moderate kind of temperature, whereas orange can be grown in low, moderate and high, all kinds of temperatures. In the end, black gram can be grown only in the moderate and high temperature conditions. So this kind of cross tabulation can be created using a cross tab function in Pandas. So here is the syntax for this one. We have index, so this is the index value. We have put the label as an index. Then we have columns. So you can just provide the name of a column over here. In case if you want to provide the multiple column names, then you can pass the list in this column names over here. In case if you want to apply a function on all the rows of the data set, then you can use the aggregate function. Let's suppose if I have written mean over here, then the mean value for this will be calculated. So it will be applied on each row of the column. Drop now is if I want to drop all the missing values, then I can set it to true. By default it is true. You can set it to false as well in case if you want to keep the missing values. So let's just jump into our Jupyter notebook to see all of this in action. So this is my Jupyter notebook and I am using that crop data set. Let me show you the snapshot of the data set. So we have N, P, K, temperature, humidity, pH, rainfall and label. So label has the value which crop can be grown. The factors required in order to grow this crop. So we need this much rainfall, this much pH level, humidity, temperature and so on. So although I have already discussed about the data, but since we are going to perform some manipulation, it is very important that we understand the data very well. So now first what I am going to do, I am going to use the group by function. I am going to apply it on the label which contains the name of a crop, and I will be calculating the mean value for all of them. So based upon this thing, the mean value will be calculated for N, P, K, temperature, humidity, pH, rainfall. Let me run this. Now you can see that. So for an apple, we have 20 mean value for N, 134.2 for P. The average temperature is 22.63. The average pH value is 5.92. So in this way, we have all the average values for each row based upon that label. Now let's do one thing. Let's find out the average rainfall. So we are going to create a new column over here with the name average rainfall, where we will be having a value for rainfall. So you can see over here right now the rainfall is this one. So this average, how we can calculate the average? First of all the values over here will be added up and it will be divided by number of values available here. So how we can check the number of values over here? We can just use the df.shape. Now we have number of values is 2200. So that means after summing up all of these, it will be divided by 2200. And there is another function that we are using is transform. So transform holds the function which is mean. So mean will be calculated for each one of them. So mean is actually the average of the dataset. Now let's run it. And let's go ahead and run the snapshot of this dataset now. Now you can see that we have average rainfall calculated, and value for each column is same. It is because it has been calculated from a rainfall where rainfall has been added up and then divided by the total number of it. So the value will definitely remain same in each column. And also guys, since it has not affected the shape of this one, so you can see still we have 2200 rows, but the column has been changed. Like earlier we had 8 columns, now we have 9 columns. Let's perform another operation, which is a describe. So what it will do, it will give us popular mathematical calculations. Let's say the count, the average, standard deviation, minimum, 25%, average of 25% of data, 50% of the data, then we have 75%, then maximum values in this. So far what we have achieved is average rainfall over here. Let's go ahead and solve some problem. So what is the problem that we are going to solve over here is, first of all, we will calculate the temperature, and then we will create a range for temperature, and based upon that range we will classify each crop accordingly. So what I exactly mean over here is, let's say in your state the average temperature lies between 35 to 40 degree. Then based upon this information, you will be able to understand which crop you can grow from this data set. So first of all, we are classifying the temperature into 3 parts. First is minimum, maximum, and the mean. Mean means average of the temperature. So I have calculated this. So these are the values. So the minimum temperature that is required in order to grow any crop is 8 degree. Then we have a maximum temperature as 43 degree and some change. 25.61 is the average that is required by maximum crops. Now we are going to create a range. So 0 to 15 degree will be called as a low temperature. 15 to 30 will be called as a moderate temperature, and 30 to 45 degree will be called as a high temperature. So based upon these 3 categories, we can classify which crop we can grow in our area. So these are the bins. So bins, like we are going to use this cut operation over here, cut function that is available in Pandas. So we need a bin and label for that. So bins are the ranges and labels are the what value that you want to provide over here. Now this is the new column that we are going to create, and pd.cut, we are going to apply this on temperature, and these are the bins and labels we are going to provide to this thing. So let me run this. Now here you can see that we have values over here. So since the temperature lies between 20 to 20 degree, that is why it is showing moderate over here. Now let me go ahead and show you some sample data over here so that we can get some other values as well. Sample, let's pick up 20 values. Now here you can see that since the value has been exceeded 45 degree, that's why it is showing high over here. Then we have moderate lies between 15 to 30. Increasing 30 will lead to high temperature. So that means papaya can be grown in a high temperature. Then we have another thing that we can grow in high degree is pigeon peas. Oranges can also be grown in high temperature. Muskmelon can be grown in a moderate temperature. Orange can also be grown in a moderate temperature. Coconut can be grown in a moderate temperature. Now let's perform a cross-tabulation in this. What we are going to do, we are going to use the index. That means the name of these crops will be as an index, and the column names will be column name will be this temperature one. So let me go ahead and run this. Now we have a cross-tabulation. Now here you can see that we have temperature intensity as low, moderate and high, whereas we have labels as an index: apple, banana, black gram, chickpea, etc. What we can understand from this data set is apple can be grown only in the moderate situation. So it has 100%, that means total count is 100. So that means apples can only be grown in a moderate kind of temperature. Banana can also be grown only in a moderate temperature. Black gram can be grown in a moderate and high temperature as well. Chickpeas can only be grown in a moderate. Grapes can be grown in all kinds of temperatures, whereas mango can be grown only in the moderate and high temperature. Let's move one step ahead and understand what all crops can be grown in all kind of temperature. So for that, what we are using the same variable that we have created over here, temp dot location LOC, and we are applying this formula over here. So what it is showing, it is displaying all the data that is having a value greater than 0. That means it is showing all the values that can be grown in all kinds of temperatures. So let me run it. Now here you can see that we have only 2 crops that can be grown in all kinds of seasons or in all kinds of temperatures. Those are grapes and oranges. One more thing that you can take away from this data set is 51 and 58. That means the best condition for this for growing these 2 crops will be moderate temperature. Last is, let's see how many options are available actually in the temperature intensity. You can see we have moderate, high and low. So this was just a piece of information, just a good to know information. With this, we have learned how to manipulate data using group by and crosstab. In the next section, we will talk about how to work with the date in Pandas.